Today I will be playing what I like to consider to be some pretty difficult FNAF fan games, with 5 games and each game getting more difficult as we eventually reach the most difficult one. So sit back, relax and enjoy me getting jump scared. This first game is called Freddy's Deception. It is a fan-made version of Dark Deception and it is a very unique FNAF experience. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. We begin this game in a cutscene where a lady tells us that we are familiar with the FNAF establishment. Our name, Henry Emily. And if you know, we are very connected to the events of the FNAF timeline. The reason why we're here, our sacrifice in FNAF 6. After burning down the pizzeria simulator establishment, we were sent straight here. But this second chance she's given us won't be easy. And with that, we get sent straight into the heart of the first Freddy's Pizzeria. We arrive here and the place looks very desolate. There seems to be no one around. So our first instinct is to go straight into the building to see if there's anything that we need to do. We see some posters of the familiar animatronics and I'm guessing this made Henry very guilty over the past experiences at Freddy's Pizzeria. In the building, we go straight toward the main stage where the animatronics put on a performance. The animatronics look lively and seem to be in great condition. However, this slowly ends as they tell us that we are going to play tag. The voice from before tells us that this isn't them trying to be nice, that they're hiding a darker secret. But without hesitation, we go straight into the building. Our search for answers drives us to look around, but this leads to a chase with the animatronics. You see, the main gameplay loop of this game is to find these soul shards. Many of them have been placed around the building. However, as we are looking for the shards, animatronics will hunt us down. A pretty simple gameplay loop, I know, but it is very much terrifying when you don't know where anything is. My first attempt, I had actually no idea what I was doing. I'd actually never touched Dark Deception before, so this experience I had pretty much zero clue on where to go. I simply followed the shards, and this led me around the whole building. Eventually though, I would come into contact with the animatronics, and they would chase me down very quickly. I kept putting myself into very tight situations. I simply wanted to collect every single shard I could. But eventually this naivety would lead to me getting cornered by Freddy, and this time I hadn't planned a way on escape. I simply ran straight into him. And this led to a very quick jump scare, which made me nearly throw myself off my chair. Thankfully, this game does save your checkpoints, so I wasn't just sent straight back to not having anything completed. This was pretty relieving, however, still I had to now find a way to get back toward where all the shards are. I eventually found them, but I also found every animatronic, Chica, Bonnie, Foxy and Freddy. This would commence a massive chase, where I would pretty much loop the pizzeria multiple times. I found new rooms, very exciting rooms to be fair. This Foxy one, the design of it is absolutely amazing. I even found the office from the original FNAF, but this wasn't really much use as the animatronics were targeting me and hunting me down at very quick speed. I did find a power up, and this allowed me to see where all the animatronics were. But even with this power up, I would still make my way straight to another animatronic, being Chica. I pretty much got clotheslined. After this though, all the shards would pretty much be collected. This would allow me to now escape the pizzeria. But this wasn't technically an escape, it was an elevator. This elevator led down to the underbelly of whatever this place was hiding. Here we have an altar, which seems to be where all the shards need to be placed in. In front of the altar laid the last place where we need to escape, the sewers. The animatronics made their way down here just for us, and a massive sewer chase began. My plan was simple, collect shards and don't look back. The plan itself was pretty high tier, I cannot even lie. But I led myself straight into animatronics multiple times and even had some very close calls. So close in fact that at one point I thought I even died. But I narrowly escaped with literally not even knowing I survived. Running around this place was nightmare fuel. The environment mixed with the animatronics made the whole experience absolutely terrifying. But eventually I would collect all the shards. This one was honestly a little bit easier than the first one. I hadn't actually died this time around. Maybe I just got better at the game, but I pretty much got all the shards just with a few close experiences with the animatronics. Once we collected the last shard, we would now be able to escape. However, I wouldn't really call it an escape, as we'd actually had a very close stumble into Freddy. Freddy had had enough. He didn't want us to keep looking around the pizzeria for more clues, so we go straight toward the door and slide under it. This rendered Freddy no longer a threat. Going to the altar, we placed the ring piece, and this meant that we had now done everything we can. But this wasn't enough, as behind us a door opens and a bunch of white flashing eyes can be seen. The eyes of animatronics, and this meant that now it was time to get out of here. With Shadow Freddy behind us, we now had to find all the power switches and turn them on. The whole place is very narrow, and the obstacles in our way made this whole traversal absolutely a nightmare experience. But I wasn't planning on giving up, and even after my first jump scare on the first power switch, I still hadn't given up all hope. My second attempt went a lot better. I got the first switch, then the second. At this point, we went upstairs, where we found another switch behind all these arcade cabinets. Freddy was at all points right behind me, so any mistake, any slip up would lead straight to a jump scare. The last one was located at the other side of the building, so we had to pretty much make our way through all these obstacles through this balcony, and at last we made it to the fourth switch. Turning on the switch, we now had one choice: to get out of the building. However, on the top floor, we had to make a very crucial decision, and that was to jump from a very high point. This staggered us, but not enough for Freddy to get us, and we exited through the door. The elevator took us back to the pizzeria, but the animatronics had also followed us all the way here. The place is now littered with tape all around the pizzeria, meaning that some areas are not accessible, but this was not really that much of a problem, as our main task was to get out of here. Without looking back, we just went forward, and eventually this led to the main stage. All the animatronics tried to jump scare me, but I dodged every single animatronic and went straight toward the portal. Entering the portal, we had escaped the Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. What happened to Henry after this is not known, but what is known is that we have completed this experience. Here's my scoreboard. Honestly, not the best, but I'm pretty happy with what I ended up getting. And with that, that's about it for this game. This next game is called FNAF Nightmare Attack. It is essentially FNAF 4 but free roam. Does that sound terrifying? It kinda does. Anyways, with that, let's get straight into this one. This game starts with a cutscene of what seems to be a birthday party at Fredbear's family diner. However, something happened at this party, something tragic. One of the animatronics had accidentally hit one of the children. The kid was so scared that he tripped and fell, hitting his head and sending the poor kid to the hospital. No one knew what happened to the kid, but suddenly we awake in our bed. Perhaps it was just all a nightmare. So we get up and we begin to look around the house. Something feels off. The ambience mixed with the environment, just something felt very misleading. The house feels desolate. No one seems to be home. Outside it's pitch darkness. Nothing can be seen. Using our flashlight, we can illuminate these surroundings and yep, there's pretty much nothing. However, it was clear we were not alone. Something is stalking us, and soon enough, we found out what was stalking us. Nightmare Bonnie would be in the hallway, and it was time to now actually pay attention. The flashlight seemed to scare him away, well, at least scare him enough. But it didn't seem to stop him, he just got closer and closer toward the door. The ambience made me unsure, I didn't really know what to expect. The nerves were starting to kick in, and at this point I really had to just be on my A game. Thankfully, I would not encounter any animatronic face to face on the first night, but that was soon to change. With 6 AM hitting, the night ends, and we get a new cutscene. It seems Mike Williams is the victim of the Fazbear Entertainment incident. We are predicted to awake in 2 weeks, so in that time it seems that the nights will continue. The second night began, and again I was very confused. This time, however, a new animatronic would appear, Nightmare Chica. Now the outside wasn't just pitch darkness, 2 red glowing eyes can be seen. This would reveal Nightmare Chica, and this was bit terrifying. To deal with Nightmare Chica, when she does get right toward the window, we need to actually look for her cupcake. Yes, she's only going to us for her cupcake, she doesn't really want to attack us. That's if we don't use our light on her. To find the cupcake, you can kind of hear it. It has a similar sound effect to the Freddles, which I'll get into later. And when we find the cupcake, we simply need to kindly return it to Chica, who would then disappear. But don't worry, she will reappear later in the night. This night was pretty difficult. I didn't know how to deal with Chica, so the first few attempts ended up, well, I got jump scared. Oh my Eventually, I learned Chica's mechanics, and this led me to easily beat Night 2. But then Night 3 began, and again a new cutscene would play. It seems that the hospital that we're in is starting to just kind of freak out. They don't really know when Mike Williams is going to awake. The time changes from 2 weeks to like a long time, and Fazbear Entertainment are in an absolute frenzy. They're trying to keep their reputation alive, but it seems that this incident is trying to bury that. With that, we begin Night 3. This time we have Foxy to say hello to. Foxy can be first found in the hallway. Just like in FNAF 4, he will go in the hallway and try and make his way toward our bedroom. Our goal is to try and use our flashlight on him. If we don't do this, then Foxy has a chance of running into our bedroom. And then he will go immediately toward our closet. We can't even see him doing this, he will just go straight in there. And once he's in there, it's exactly like FNAF 4. Just use the flashlight on him, and if he's getting too close, close the door and this will reset his attack pattern. So basically, we're just playing FNAF 4 with a few new mechanics. And also, the Freddles are here now, so yay. These Freddles are annoying, but again, just use the flashlight on them and they will go away quite fast. They're pretty simple. Eventually, after multiple attempts, I would complete Night 3, and we will now introduce ourselves to Night 4. This night, all the animatronics are out to play, and we basically need to rely on the skills we've learned throughout the game. By keeping Foxy away as much as possible, I was able to keep control of Bonnie and Chica, and this resulted in me getting very far into the night. Also, the nights in this game aren't that long, they're like 3 to 4 minutes in length, so they're actually quite short. Again, keeping Foxy away, I was able to keep track of all the animatronics and not have to worry about Foxy at all, which was quite relieving. This night would eventually be completed. We then get to a new cutscene, and this cutscene, it seems that a lot of strawberry jam has been just thrown around this hallway. I know it's not strawberry jam, but we're gonna call it strawberry jam. And then Nightmare appears and gives us another jump scare, so that kind of just took me off guard. But this would result in the last night of the game, Night 5. The night is, well, it's dark and it's just red, very red. All the animatronics became aggressive, which means that we need to be on the top of our game. Like I said before, the animatronics are quite easy if you keep Foxy away as much as you can. Everything was nice and dandy until we reached 4 AM, where Nightmare Freddy would appear, and this was when everything kinda went a little bit bad. I didn't know how Nightmare Freddy worked. I assumed it was like FNAF 4, and I was kinda right, but kinda. The sounds Nightmare Freddy makes isn't really correlated to where he is in your room, you kind of just have to guess where he is. In this mode, he doesn't actually spawn on your bed, so he can only spawn in the 3 areas of your room that you can check. The good thing about Nightmare Freddy is he actually gives you enough time to check where he is. He isn't really that aggressive as you probably would have thought the opposite, but he's actually kind of like peaceful. And with that, that was it. The night completed and the last cutscene would play. It seems that we tried escaping the hospital, but something didn't want us doing that. A man in the background starts to look toward us, a very shadowy person just staring at us, and at this point it was clear that we are not safe. The entity goes toward us and jump scares us, resulting in the end of our game. Well, that's about it for FNAF Nightmare Attack. Overall, a pretty nice FNAF 4 remake. It's pretty much FNAF 4, but you can just move around the room. So honestly, it's not the most innovative experience, but definitely one that I would recommend trying out. And there's also some development screenshots of the game, and I thought this was pretty cool. Anyways, with that, let's move on to the next game. This next game is called Fazbear Entertainment Storage. It is a remake of FNAF 2 that does a few things a little bit different. So without further ado, let's get into it. So beginning this game off, we get put into the main office. Immediately, we get a phone call from Henry, who is the co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment alongside William Afton. He gives us a little rundown on what we need to expect in this place. First of all, the animatronics. At this point, we don't know if they're actually a threat to us, the player, but we can assume they're gonna eventually activate. Henry goes that if they activate, we have a few tools at our disposal. First of all, we have the flashlight. This is our main tool, which we can use on the hallway to our right and to the vent shaft into our left. We also have a mask, and just like in the original FNAF 2, we can use this mask to trick the animatronics. Moving on, we have a vent shaft in front of us. This is pretty obvious. There's a massive red button, and if we press this button, then the vent shaft will close. I'm not too sure how the player is actually able to reach this button, but you know what? I'm not going to question it. Let's just move on. We also have a power system. To our right, we have a green display, and if we press this, we get introduced toward the power mechanic. Essentially, there are power generators located across the pizzeria. There are 3 which can be located in the vents, and this is going to be important later on, but for now, we just need to go ahead and continue the night. This night is pretty chill. There's not really much threats throughout the night, and this is pretty cool. Until we reach 4 AM, where Bonnie and Chica begin to activate. They will begin to activate in cam 1, and after this they will begin to move around the storage facility. All we need to do right now is to keep tabs on where they are. I don't really know what to expect, so at this point I was pretty concerned. I tried to remain calm and I just simply tracked where they were going, and this eventually led Bonnie toward cam 7, the camera right outside my office. I didn't know what to do here. I saw Bonnie starting to lunge toward the office. His camera pose was showing me that. So I just waited until the camera was no longer visible and Bonnie wasn't there. I then checked the vent and Bonnie was there. So at this point, I just slapped on the mask and Bonnie eventually left. There's a cool little animation where you can actually see Bonnie move, which I found extremely awesome. But that is about it for Bonnie. Chica, however, was something else. Chica is pretty simple. She goes toward the main area of the storage facility, the middle camera. And at this point, she can go toward cam 6, where after this, she will go inside the vent system. Eventually, you will start to hear some noises coming from the vents. And if you begin to hear the noise starting to ramp up, then Chica will eventually make her way toward the vent in front of you. If you see Chica, press that red button and she will just go away. And with that, that's pretty much it for night 1. Eventually, I would beat the night and we would move into the second night. This time, however, we have a new animatronic, this being Toy Freddy. Henry begins to explain basically all the mechanics from last night, alluding to also there being someone actually taking control of these animatronics and that this has actually happened in the past. So essentially, someone is trying to track us down. For what reason, who knows, but at this point, we just need to keep tabs of the animatronics and make it through the night. Also, Chica just gave me the chills. When she's doing her cam 5 pose, there's something about the, I didn't like this. This was really, off-putting. Anyways, enough of that. This night was pretty simple. Toy Freddy eventually did activate, and this was pretty alarming. With Toy Freddy, I eventually tracked him toward the 5th camera, and this was the camera where I was pretty concerned on what was going to happen. Eventually, though, I heard a noise, and this made me check the office, and what do you know? Toy Freddy was in the hallway in front of us, so by shining the light at Toy Freddy, he simply moved away. Very respectful from Toy Freddy. I can really appreciate someone not trying to kill me. This night was exactly like night 1, beside Toy Freddy being in the mix. So I beat this night, first try, and moved into night 3. This night introduces 2 new animatronics. Yep, I know, 2 new animatronics, which means we have 5 to deal with in night 3. But don't worry, it's not that bad. Trust me. We now need to deal with Mangle, who will start at cam 4. Eventually, Mangle will make her way toward the top right of the storage facility. Eventually, she will go inside the vent system, and for the first time in this whole game, we actually need to take tabs on the vents. Mangle will go toward the middle vent, cam 11. At this point, there's a few different options for Mangle. Mangle will either go to one of the 3 generators around cam 11. If Mangle does this, we simply need to use the toggle seal button, which will seal the vent, allowing her to just move away. However, if we fail to use the seal and Mangle is in the vent, pretty much what happens is the power just shuts off and we need to rely on our flashlight, which is not really the best thing to do. So keeping track of Mangle was a priority. I pretty much kept toggling the cameras, checking where all the animatronics were and sometimes checking my actual office itself for Chica. I soon realized that the animatronics have audio cues, which I found quite useful as I sometimes just knew where the animatronic was because of their audio cue. But let's just say eventually I would hear some Balloon Boy laughter, which completely took me off guard. I had no idea that Balloon Boy was an animatronic to deal with, and at this point I was pretty concerned. Balloon Boy will start at cam 4 and you will start to hear his laughter appearing throughout the night. The only time you need to worry about Balloon Boy is if he gets toward cam 7. If Balloon Boy is in cam 7, then you need to check until he leaves this camera. If you don't see Balloon Boy, then he will be in the vent just like Bonnie. Just use the mask and he will run across your room at light speed. Yes, I'm slowing the footage down. Balloon Boy is simply that fast that that you actually can't see him leave. That is kind of terrifying, I can't lie. I would make a mistake in my night 3 run where I actually just started to panic. I had no idea what Balloon Boy was doing at this point, and all the animatronics became a lot more prominent in the later hours, and by not checking on Mangle, the power would shut off. And with Chica being at the exact spot where I didn't want her to be, the vent in front of me, she would jump scare me in an instant. With my newfound knowledge of Balloon Boy, I would now be determined to finish night 3. This time when Balloon Boy spawned in, I did not panic. And due to me being a lot more composed, I would eventually beat night 3. Night 4 would begin, and this was exactly like night 3. Pretty much nothing changed beside the animatronics being more active. And this was pretty relieving, as I didn't know if anything else was to surprise me throughout these nights. Henry just said just check everything up and get through this night successfully, and just I did that first go, so that's good. And then night 5 arrived. And at this point, Henry is telling us that we need to just get through this night and maybe another shift, which he alludes to, night 6 obviously, but we need to just survive and he will deal with everything later. He's pretty upset that he needs to dismantle these animatronics, his prized possessions, but at this point he had no choice. William had basically forced him to do this. But enough lore, this night was difficult. Everything was basically just appearing at every second of the night. And we also have a new animatronic, the Marionette, who finally appears after 4 long nights. The Marionette was something I was not expecting. When I heard the spawn in audio for the Marionette, I was completely shooken. Thankfully, however, the Marionette is not hard to deal with. On the cameras, sometimes the Marionette will appear, and if you see it, just stare at it and it will go away. So that was quite relieving, but that didn't mean this night was not hard. This night was difficult. I had to really rely on the audio of the animatronics to tell where they were, and not only that, the Marionette appearing at random times was really something I did not expect would make the game 10 times harder. But honestly, somehow and some way, I actually got through night 5 on my first attempt. I know, it was definitely a fluke, but this meant I had now completed the first 5 nights of the game. But we still had one more night to complete. And let's just say I was up for the challenge. Moving into night 6, this one was a little bit different than what we've previously used to. The animatronics, the toy animatronics, have been dismantled. It seemed that Henry had stuck to his word that he was going to destroy the animatronics. However, there is still some animatronics that haven't fully left the pizzeria. Spring Bonnie and Fredbear had awoke from their long-lasted rest and were out for vengeance. And it so happened that we, the Night Guard, are the only one in the building, so we can kind of assume what's going to happen next. The animatronics go straight toward us, and at this point, I was absolutely stunned. I just took in that the animatronics were destroyed, but even just seeing Spring Bonnie and Fredbear just made me completely lose my mind. I was extremely confused. I didn't know how the animatronics work. I assumed they worked like the toy animatronics. This was not right. This was wrong. They don't, and I learned that the hard way. The first few deaths in this night were just me getting used to the mechanics, and in saying that, I don't know what I'm actually meant to do. Bonnie move, and next minute I'm jump scared. Just no questions, I'm just being jump scared. And this happened for like 20 minutes, I did not know what to do. I was actually stuck. However, eventually I started to get more and more clues on what to do. YouTube helped a lot in that, but this night is just really confusing. The game doesn't tell you anything. So I think YouTube is justified in this situation. I learned from this video, by the way, shout out to Bluey Lewis for making this video, or else I would actually probably never beat this night, but eventually I learned that Spring Bonnie works as so. There's 2 ways Spring Bonnie can jump scare you. One is if he's in cam 5 and then goes directly towards your office. If this does happen, you need to stay on your camera. I know, counterintuitive, we've been using our mask the whole game, but now we need to stay in the camera, so I guess that's how it's gonna be. And the other way is if he goes to cam 7. At this point, you need to wait until he moves inside the vent. You will hear a bunch of just noises, and this indicates that Spring Bonnie is going through the vent, so close it or else you get jump scared. And for Fredbear, there's just one way he can jump scare you. If you remember Toy Bonnie and how he worked, essentially in our left vent, if we hear some sort of winding sound, this means that Fredbear is just about to attack us, so slap on the mask and you should be all good to go. That's it for the animatronics. However, I did not mention another thing that can happen. Randomly throughout this night, the power can just start to flicker. If this does happen, a camera is being attacked by one of the animatronics. So we need to go on the cameras, find out which camera is being attacked, then go on the green panel and electrocute whichever fuse box is being attacked, which will startle the animatronic, leading them not to attack the fuse box. This night is actually very easy. Once you learn all the mechanics, the night itself isn't that hard. That's the thing, you need to know the mechanics, and if I didn't, let's say, look up on YouTube what I was doing, I may have been stuck for a lot longer. But eventually, this night would easily be completed, although there were a few hiccups here and there, mostly me just being stupid, but this night went by pretty easily. And after the completion of this night, that's it for the game. We have completed Fazbear Storage Entertainment, which is a fantastic FNAF 2 remake and is honestly one of my favorite FNAF fan games ever. This was an absolute blast to play. And just a bonus, we also get some cool character screenshots of the models, just absolutely beautiful renders. I'm absolutely just in awe of how these animatronics look. And we even get some devlog of the game, just some really cool information on how the dev went around making this game. And there's a few interesting facts that I learned. Apparently, Bonnie was the first character to be made, not Freddy, which I found very interesting. And I noticed that the game was very blue, like I get that similarity now, and that Toy Chica had actually been like nerfed kinda. In the original game, she would actually be in the vent for a lot longer than what she is in the actual game. I found this information really cool, and there's a lot more which I won't go through because there's a lot of information, but just some really cool details about this game. Honestly, huge congratulations to the developers behind this game. Just an absolutely fantastic FNAF experience that I recommend anyone try out. Anyways, with that, let's move on to the next one. So this next game is One Night at Flumpty 3. Yes, I am finally playing this game. So without further ado, let's hop straight into it. We begin this game straight into the night itself. It appears that we are in a very strange room. It's like we're in a massive igloo somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere. The place itself is filled with a bunch of random items, but most of all, it is filled with a bunch of, let's just say, unwanted people. This being Flumpty and his friends, and these people, let's just say, do not want us here. The night begins with Flumpty just saying good luck, and we have one objective, and that is to survive to 6 AM. Sounds simple enough, I know, but there's a few things we need to look out for. Firstly, the temperature. If we don't go toward the fireplace, the temperature drops. Pretty simple. Moving on, we have a camera. If we suspect anything in the hallway in front of us or the areas toward our right, then we can use our camera. This will stun whatever's in the hallway and will make it retreat. And we also have a place to our right, but we'll get into that a little bit later. The first actual threat is Birthday Boy. Birthday Boy will begin in the furthest camera toward our office. Eventually, he will go closer and closer toward us, making some pretty stupid camera poses until he reaches camera 5, and this is where we need to lock in. If Birthday Boy does this face, then he's about to attack us. So we need to stop what we're doing and wait until he leaves. As soon as this happens, he will be in the hallway. So using our camera, we will scare this Birthday Boy and he will go back to camera 1. And if we don't do this, we die. Moving on, we have Clown Man. I'm just going to call him that. I don't know his actual name, but Clown Man is basically the opposite to Birthday Boy. He will go toward the rooms and will start to do some like spider poses. He thinks he's like Spider-Man or some shit. But when he gets to camera 5, just like Birthday Boy, we need to again lock in. Because if Clown Man leaves, then he will be in the hallway in front of us. But instead of using our camera, we just need to just not do anything. It sounds extremely simple. Don't do anything. But when Birthday Boy and Clown Man go in the same hallway, then we're kinda screwed. Because if we use the camera and both of them are in the hallway, then Clown Man jump scares us. Also in this camera, there's a massive sign saying don't use the camera on the clown. Just a little hint. So next is the fire thing. The fire thing will reside in cam 4, the furnace room. Pretty fitting for a fire person. Eventually, fire thing will begin to move. We can see its eyeballs pretty prominently. It will begin to just go closer and closer toward this portal. This portal is not just any portal. It is the portal toward our fireplace. And if this thing is staring exactly at the fireplace, then we can't go toward the fireplace because, what do you know, we will get jump scared in an instant. What we need to do is we need to time it so when it gets toward its last stage, which will be right here, we need to make sure our temperature is pretty high up, because if it's not and the thing gets toward the portal, then we're gonna deplete all our heat and die. But if we do this correctly, then you will see it will go toward the portal, it will say don't go here, and then disappear. I don't know how I'm rhyming this shit, but basically it will go away and we will be all good to go. And lucky last, we have Rabbit Man. I know these names are pretty like shit, but basically Rabbit Man is having a nice bubble bath. We are kinda intruding on his business, so Rabbit Man is pretty angry, and at around 2 AM Rabbit Man will awake, starting at the bath. Eventually he will go toward the vent, and this is where we kinda need to pay attention, because at any stage Rabbit Man can go in the vent and begin its travel toward our office. Thankfully though, the rabbit doesn't actually run like someone else does. It just kind of slowly goes toward our office and will eventually be in the furnace toward our right. And by using the camera, it will go back toward its bath. That's about it for our main characters. I did die a few times. I died a lot. I know it's one night, it shouldn't be that hard, but I mean, it took me a while to know what I'm doing. With that said, eventually I would get to 4 AM. Now we have some new characters to look out for. First of all, we have the eye thing. I think it's Eyezilla. Pretty much this thing is not a fun thing to look at, as if we do not use our camera, it will basically jump scare us. This thing though requires 2 camera flashes, so just use it twice and it will disappear. Pretty simple, but just annoying if you're not aware it's actually there. It's pretty sneaky. And next we have what I like to call Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty will start at Cam 1, looking like he just got off some pretty nasty stuff. He might have had some food poisoning or something, but basically he looks like he wants to kill us. Humpty Dumpty will go closer and closer toward us, but our main thing is do not stare at Humpty Dumpty. I know it's an egg, and eggs are pretty stupid, but don't stare at it because it will jump scare you and your heat will go all the way down. For some reason it might be a cold egg because it basically does the complete opposite of what an egg should do. Be hot. And basically do not have Humpty Dumpty jump scaring you because it is not fun. Alright, that's every character I can describe, and the night itself was pretty hard. Around 30 minutes in, I had a great run, 4 AM, and I was feeling extremely good. I knew that any mistake would lead to my demise, but I kept a cool head and I did not let Humpty Dumpty scare me. I was confident I would beat this night. The attempt got even better. I hit 5 AM. I hadn't even reached this point till now. So I was really hyped up, the adrenaline kicking in, and as soon as you knew it, I would beat One Night at Flumpty 3. Then the game cuts. Oh my. Oh, what? What? Are you kidding me? The Egg Lord thought, hey, let's just completely change everything, and made the whole game completely different. Well, not really. The actual main eggs have the same patterns as the original characters, but let's just say those original characters have been turned perhaps into eggs. I don't know. So now again, it's time to survive, but this time it's not going to be as easy because we have not only a power system, just like the original FNAF, but we have more rooms, even more rooms and more things to look out for. So here are the new things that we need to keep track of. First of all is the eye in our office. We have an exposure meter. Essentially, when this eye thing appears in our office, we need to use our camera. The first time this happened, I just stared at it. I didn't know that my exposure was going up. In fact, I didn't really know what was happening. So I stared at it and eventually my exposure went all the way. Basically, don't do that. Just use the camera and you're all good. Secondly is the egg in our rooms to our left and right. This egg is kind of simple. Essentially, if you see it right up against the door, use the door. And if you just see it go away, open the door. Sometimes though you can lose track of it, so use your camera to see if he's in the hallway. Basically, if you keep the door shut when he's there, he shouldn't jump scare you. The other thing we need to look out for is the big eye monster. At Cam 6, there will be a massive eye thing. It will have a patience meter, and essentially if we do not stare at it, the patience will go up, meaning that it will basically want to jump scare us. The key to this thing is to keep the patience as low as possible, but not too low, just low enough that it won't give us any problems. I like to keep it at around 100 to 200 patience. I don't like going any less or any more, just a nice sweet spot. And that's about it to 3 a.m. until we get 2 new rooms. Don't worry though, there's only one, there's more than one, but there's one at the moment. There's one new character. Basically, at Cam 9, an egg will spawn in this really just weird room. It will go toward Cam 10, and you can see there's a massive door power button. If this egg goes ahead and gets too close to this room and actually shuts the power, then you lose your power for your doors, and basically you're gonna get jump scared. However, if you get the egg before it reaches the room and you use the laser doors, it cannot enter. So it just goes back and repeats this whole thing. And lastly, we have the shadow egg, the one egg to rule them all. This is the egg that is the most dangerous. It will go to every single room and just stare at you, exactly like the Humpty Dumpty from the original Night. If we see it, we have to look away immediately or else it will jump scare us. And with that, that's pretty much it for Flumpty Night. That's all the threats. But it is a tough night. It took me a while to beat. I was at this night for an hour straight, and I just kept trying and trying and trying and trying, but I wasn't going to give up. I knew that I could beat it. I got to 4 a.m. once. I know it's not 5, but it's 4 a.m. I had confidence I could beat it. And in one attempt, I was getting very close to the end. There was a few times where I was absolutely panicking because sometimes the properties of the heat meter or the exposure meter might start becoming very weird. They might start changing it fast, but I just kept to what I was doing, making sure that I wasn't getting too cold and making sure that the eggs will not get close to me. And as soon as you know it, I would eventually get to the end of Flumpty Night, and I would begin to experience what came after, and it was a weird experience. Flumpty opens the exit door, and we see the world, which seems to be crumbling before our eyes. Literally boiling. Get it? Because he's an egg. Okay. The last challenge of One Night at Flumpty's 3 is the Hard Boiled Challenge. What this challenge is basically it's a mixture of the classic mode and the harder Flumpty mode. And also everything is a lot more aggressive. So let's do the hardest challenge in this game. Pretty much every single mechanic is the same, and that is that the characters themselves are a lot more aggressive. What do I mean by this? Well, at 1 a.m. we had every single character pretty much at my office. To put in perspective, in the original Night, basically this would happen at 4 a.m. So things were getting heated right off the bat. Many of my deaths came from the exact same way, and that was I was getting jump scared by the secret egg, which means that my temperature went all the way down, and by the time I got toward the fireplace, the red fire monster would be there waiting for me. Another problem I had was with the clown. When the red eye dinosaur spawns in, pretty much the clown will be there as well, so you have to time it so that you get the red dinosaur just after the clown leaves, because if not, obviously you get jump scared. And that's pretty much the main problem with this night, and that was just the first half. The second half gets even harder, and I took around a 1 week break from the second mode to the third mode, so I was really at a disadvantage. But eventually the gameplay loop got straight back to me, and I was able to go ahead and pretty much clear the first half of this night. As I mentioned before, things only got harder, and the second half of the night was, well, exactly that. We get back into the Flumpty mode, and this time around everything is straight off the bat really aggressive. My power is also halved. This means I have to conserve as much power as I can. But with the characters hunting me down and me having pretty much not played this game in over a week, I was really starting to lose it. But muscle memory again kicked in like the first half of this night, and things kind of got a little bit easier when I remembered every single character. Also in this half of the game, I found that it was a little bit easier for one reason alone, and that was that the secret Flumpty egg wasn't actually that much of a threat. What I mean by this is if you stare at the secret egg, obviously you get jump scared. However, in this mode, what actually happens is if you stare at the shadow egg, it is in your office, and if you do this multiple times, then you get jump scared. But I soon realized when the shadow egg was actually in the cameras, and this meant that the shadow egg pretty much couldn't do anything to me. And eventually this night was actually quite reasonable. There was a few times where I was absolutely not knowing what I was doing and I was just pressing random buttons, but I will admit I was very surprised when I actually got to 6 AM on my first attempt in the second half. I really wasn't expecting to beat this challenge on like my 7th attempt, and doing so I was really proud. This means we have now completed the events of One Night at Flumpty's 3. The game ends and Flumpty releases us back into the world in which we belong in. Flumpty says goodbye to us, and then the game ends for real this time. This game is honestly a classic, a game that I think everyone can agree is a very challenging but rewarding experience. Okay, this next game is called Fredbear And Friends. It is a free roam FNAF game that actually did not get finished. Yup, it's an unfinished FNAF game, so this one's gonna be quite interesting. The game starts and us, the main character Thomas, have kind of found ourselves in a little predicament. We've seemed to have gone to a pizzeria that is abandoned, a place from the past. We head in with a bunch of mates, you know, such an intelligent idea. Our task is to pretty much find power, and this place seems to be completely devoid of it. This game kind of gives me some Scooby-Doo vibes, I don't know, but we look around and we see what seems to be the animatronic stages, and furthermore, just a bunch of rubble, I guess, around the place. There's not really an objective, we just have to like look around and search for stuff, but I had a bit of a problem. I was walking around for a whole like 30 minutes and nothing was happening. I thought the game was broken, and that soon turned into reality as I just remembered that the game is unfinished. So we can't actually do the narrative mode. We're gonna have to jump straight into the survival mode. Moving into the survival mode, we pick up the phone, and it seems Phone Man is giving us a little bit of a instruction manual on how to survive in this place. There's about 8 animatronics we need to look out for, just great really, and all animatronics are unique in their own ways, so we're off to a pretty bad start. To make things even worse, the phone cuts and a new person picks it up. A person just called the psychopath picks up the phone and tells us that we need to survive until 6 AM. So we're pretty much stuck in an abandoned pizzeria with 8 animatronics hunting us down, and we have to survive the whole night. The first attempt went by pretty rough. At this point, I had no idea what to expect, but suddenly I heard a animatronic activate. I absolutely bolted away from that sound as I was really I didn't know what to do. I ran around looking for a place to hide. Eventually I found a locker, so my first instinct was to go straight inside the locker. In this locker, I was pretty much surrounded by Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy. This isn't really the best start toward this game, but I just had nowhere to go, so this locker just had to be good enough, I guess. And being surrounded, my last act of defense was simply just opening the door and accepting my fate. And this led to a jump scare, and what do you know, there's not even a jump scare animation. So moving on to the second attempt, I had an idea. What if there was an item I was missing? There's no way this is all I was left with. I know the game was unfinished, but there was surely something I was missing out on. Eventually, I found a room just next to the stage, and in this room, I found an item, which gave me a little bit of hope that I could maybe survive this night. The item itself is an animatronic tracker. Essentially, wherever the animatronic is, we can easily track it using this item. The green dot being us, the player, and the other dots being the animatronics hunting us down. With this item, I had a newfound glimpse of hope. However, that glimpse of hope would very quickly disappear, as Golden Freddy would appear very quickly into the night. How Golden Freddy works is if you're looking the other way, Golden Freddy will sneak up on you, like a weeping angel. This threw things off a little bit, as now I had to really pay attention to what's behind me, which, if you know anything about these type of games, really leads to some really tight scenarios. And let's just say, eventually, this led me into a room where I was just surrounded by every animatronic. Straight ahead of me was Chica, Bonnie, and Spring Bonnie, and not only that, but Golden Freddy was literally right outside the locker. This wasn't really the best situation, and it all topped off when the red button that was just going off disappeared. I haven't actually spoken about the red buttons, but essentially when a red button is going off, we need to activate it. This is because if we don't do this, then something opens up in the pizzeria, and this is something we don't really want opened, because that very thing is Fredbear, and Fredbear went straight for me. I was screaming. That ended my second attempt, and at this point, I was really running out of ideas. Nothing I did seemed to really get me far into the night, and around 2 AM at each attempt just led to another game over. I couldn't really find a way to get through the animatronics without them seeing me, and in this game, I found that the main issue is you can't get toward the red button without bumping into an animatronic. And the thing is, you think you can just go inside a locker, but in this game, the lockers don't even work. The animatronics literally just run straight through the locker, just like Fredbear. The only thing I could do is just sneak up on the animatronics. But if the red button was located far away to where I was, there was pretty much no chance of me getting there before the red button stopped beeping, and this meant Fredbear would jump scare me. I got a little bit smarter in the ways I was moving around the pizzeria. because I soon realized that the animatronics have set patterns. So by simply avoiding some areas where I knew the animatronic would eventually go to, I was basically at a better chance of survival. But this all went out the window, as this game has one issue. First of all, Foxy. I don't know how Foxy works. What I've gotten from 2 hours of gameplay is essentially wherever you are, Foxy will eventually run towards you. And there's nothing you can do. You can try and hide, but he will run straight towards you. The only way to kind of avoid Foxy is do not go down the main hallway if he's running. And you can't even hear him running, he's very silent, so good luck with that. There was something I could do though. In this game, there's certain areas where you can actually hide. There's some like shadowy corners that can actually give you basically no detection from the animatronics. This is a win. We've found a way to not get caught by animatronics. But this doesn't really matter, as the red dots I mentioned before on the map is a problem, because if we obviously do not go ahead and activate them, Fredbear comes out to play. And the thing is, these red dots always go off, so you can't just hide and survive. You need to always be on the move, and with animatronics always hunting you down, and with them pretty much detecting you at any area of the pizzeria, there was really nothing I could do. Like, I tried my best, but every single time I thought I was going to do good in the night, I either got caught by an animatronic, or Foxy just ran around the whole pizzeria just to jump scare me. Not the best thing to ever happen. I was genuinely lost. This game actually was starting to break me. I've also forgotten 2 other animatronics that I've kind of just brushed past, but pretty much there's 2 more animatronics. The first one being Mangle. I'll be honest, Mangle isn't really that much of a threat. Pretty much, Mangle occasionally might pop through the vent. If this does happen, just don't go toward that area and you should be fine. And the other one, which is the puppet. Essentially how the puppet works is it will spawn in randomly throughout the game, usually like around 2 AM it starts to spawn. When the puppet does see you, if it does lock eyes with you, you will hear a sound effect and the eyes of the puppet will glow purple. At this point, just turn around and the puppet will just leave you. But if you don't and you keep staring at the puppet, then it will chase you down horrifyingly and then jump scare you. So don't do that. With that information, honestly, that doesn't really help that much, as again, the night itself just felt really brutal. The closest I got to beating the night was on this attempt right here. And the reason why I got so far into the night is because somehow, very strangely, the red buttons did not go off. So I thought that this was gonna be easy, you know, a cheese in a way. However, there was something that I missed out, and that was what happens at 4 AM. 4 AM, you wonder, you know, a random hour in the night. In this game, what happens at 4 AM is something that's very terrifying. The person on the comms says that things are going to change up. And as soon as the person says this, a new animatronic spawns in. Honestly, I didn't actually see what the animatronic was, because at this point, Fredbear had already somehow been awakened, and that was the end of my run. Because this locker, let's just say, doesn't hold Fredbear back, he just runs straight through it. This game is something that I feel like I could maybe do, it's just I've been already playing for 4 hours and I haven't gotten past 4 AM. And with the unfinished state of the game, I don't think I'll actually be able to beat it. But if you're wondering what happens when you beat the game, you get this message. I know, it's not really the best achievement, but I mean, it's something, I guess. So Fredbear and Friends is the only game that I've actually forfeited to. I honestly full-heartedly cannot beat this game. And that is our final game. That's about it for this video. If you have enjoyed, then smash a like. And if you are brand new here and do enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing as well to never miss out on a future upload. On screen here is the full supercut of, I'm gonna put it as season 1 of this series. That video is pretty much this video, but for 3.5 hours. So if you wanna watch that, it's there for you. And with that, until next time, take it easy and goodbye.